have is when good sell. I've warned you guys over and over again that my videos are targeted to Mormons, and that I consider Mormons under condemnation for their wickedness. And it's because they aren't following true original Mormonism. And I use Mormon scriptures in the majority of my videos, at least Mormon viewpoints, or the viewpoints that they should be having if they were righteous. And as a result, people are upset with me, want me even murdered, because they consider that they are made to feel, which is an incorrect phrasing. It has no basis in reality. Nobody can make you feel anyway, anyhow, any feeling. It's you who choose to feel the way you feel. And so that's why GOP, especially Don Jr., loves to trigger people, because people choose to be offended with what he does. It's different than Trump, who's in the position to actually act on his triggers. It's one thing for him to tell Chris Matthews in the pre-2016 election interview that Trump wants to arrest all women who get an abortion, lock them up. It's another thing for him as president to actually go through with that and lock up pregnant women. And if you didn't know, 2019 was a whole bunch of states, including Utah, who sought to overturn Roe versus Wade, so that, yes, they would one day hope to make it illegal to get an abortion, as abortion clinics were shut down, as the last one in Missouri was threatened, etc. And so this is the irony, is that Mormons consider me as condescending to them. And yet I'm using Mormon scriptures, Mormon church history, real church history, not the fluffy cover-up. And so, why? Well, it's because Mormons don't have knowledge on the subject matter that I talk about in my videos. Because they don't have a knowledge on Mormonism, which they're Mormon, born and raised. They took it for granted. And so now somebody comes along and points out Mormonism that they don't know about, on the subject that they're supposed to be the ones to know about. And that's where they get feelings that I'm the one who's condescending, rather than accepting the fact that they're clueless about Mormonism and that they humble themselves to be teachable so that they can learn the truth. In the Book of Mormon, chapter 16. Now it came to pass that after I, Nephi, had made an end of speaking to my brethren, behold, they said unto me, Thou hast declared unto us hard things, more than we are able to bear. And it came to pass that I said unto them, that I knew that I had spoken hard things against the wicked. This is where I get it from, guys. I was born and raised Mormon, but I sought to know, according to the truth, and the righteous I have justified. So yes, Random Muse, the Anonymous Mormon, and a guy, I think he's from Sweden. I can't pronounce your name, sorry. I'm not too up on phonetics for Swedish names. Maybe if I looked at it and tried to vocalize it. And then there's a couple other guys, but pickings are slim, who actually get into conversations with me. And continues, and testified that they should be lifted up at the last day. Wherefore the guilty taketh the truth to be hard, for it cutteth them to the very center. And this is what you're doing when you're telling me that I'm condescending, that you feel that I'm condescending. You are projecting because you are guilty, and you are refusing to acknowledge your guilt, to acknowledge your wickedness, for being under condemnation for not adhering to the Book of Mormon. For not doing your own study of Mormonism. Or maybe you have done some study of Mormonism, but only what the church wants you to know from the church's published materials, and nothing else. To give you background of this context, Laman was the firstborn birthright blessing son. As the firstborn birthright blessing son, it is his right to rule over the family when Lehi dies. It is not Nephi's right, it's not even Lemuel's right, it's not Sam's right. It's Laman's right, and nobody else's. But we read in the Book of Mormon that Laman took it for granted and didn't learn about how to be a leader. His understanding of leadership is he gives the orders and everybody must obey. And if they don't obey, he wants them dead. That was his concept of leadership. And so when Nephi is telling him things from the brass plates, because Nephi is reading and studying the brass plates, like his father Lehi. So guess what? Laman and Lemuel aren't studying the brass plates. They have no interest in it. They're not doing scripture study. They're not doing family scripture study. They're not even bothering. They had no interest. They had no concept of how the scriptures could impact and improve their lives, to give him guidance on how to be a good leader of the family. And if you notice, Laman still becomes the leader of the tribe. It's just that because he wants to murder Nephi and those who follow him, Nephi leaves, goes away. And Laman can't let him go. He has to control Nephi, control those who follow him, to subject them to him. This is how evil he was. And so yes, Laman likewise considers Nephi to be condescending as a younger brother, and that's treason. Because he saw in Nephi the seeds of sedition. seeking to overthrow Laman as the head of the family. And that's why he lashed out, is because of the guilt that he was suppressing. And this is why Mormons do what they do, not just to me. And when things happen the way they don't want them to happen, such as sending your kids to school during a viral pandemic, and then your kid gets infected and has to be quarantined away from you, you blame the school. You blame others, rather than yourself for having sent them to school. Or not blaming Nelson for not protecting Mormons by telling them to stay home until this virus passes, and that the church opens up their bank accounts with the trillions of dollars they have stored up for a rainy day, they said, and opening up the bishop's storehouses. And instead of having you go to them, they come to you, dropping off care packages as you place your orders so that you can stay home, that you won't be extorted by work, saying, hey, you're gonna fire you if you don't come into work. Well, screw you, church is protecting me. Or, hey, you gotta send your kids to school, we're opening up. Screw you, I'm teaching my kid at home. Church is protecting me. And they're not. And instead of blaming the church, you blame others. Or you think that it's the cool thing to do to be the voice of reason now that you've made the wrong choice. So disturbing. Oh, I was deceived. I want everybody to know how wrong it is not to wear a mask. No, you don't get to do that. You shouldn't be given your seconds of fame. So, I'm not sorry you feel that way, that I'm condescending to you, because it's on you. I'm trying to save your life. And so if it sounds harsh, why aren't you righteous?